Welcome to the Real with Joseph Latman. I am Joseph Latman. Happy Thursday to you guys. Hope you guys have a good week. Almost the weekend. Excited. NBA basketball's back. Got to watch the Cavs last night, even though they lost. Darius Garland got hurt, went out of the game early. I think that kind of threw things off a bit, but they still played hard. Donovan Mitchell looked pretty good for his debut. And I'm still high, and I think it's just one game. Toronto played hard. Toronto's a scrappy team. They play real chippy too. But no, I'm excited. Basketball's back. I watched the games the other night. I watched the Warriors basically annihilate the Lakers. If you're a Lakers fan, might be a long season for you, just like last year. We'll see how they respond tonight against the Clippers. But excited to check that out. But that's not why I'm here today. So earlier this week, I listened to a sermon. You guys know I listen to my sermons and all that stuff. One of my favorite people I listen to is Charles Stanley. And I was listening to a sermon this week by Charles Stanley. I'm going to link it below. It's called Wisdom in the Midst of Trials. And in this sermon, he's talking about when you're going through a trial, right? Which everybody goes through trials. And obviously I can relate to that firsthand with my battle with panic and anxiety, agoraphobia. And in this, I listened to this on Sunday, and man, this sermon was incredible. It might be the best one I've ever heard from him, and it was so good. But one of the best things he said in the sermon was, okay, when you're going through a trial, a lot of times there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of unknown, that gives you anxiety. You just, what's going to happen? Where's this leading to? What's wrong with me? What's going on in my life? There's just a lot of what ifs and a lot of questions and a lot of just uncertainty, which makes you feel kind of lost at times, and I can relate to that firsthand. And even in my life recently, I'm a lot better now. From where I used to be, I've come a long way, but I'm still growing in a lot of areas. But also just, my life's changing from where it used to be. I used to be really down in a hole, where I didn't have a whole lot of motivation. Each day was like a survival mode with the health anxiety. Just a lot of my dreams and goals I didn't feel were attainable. They were just I didn't really have it anymore. I kind of just gave up for a little bit. But then as time went on, things started to slowly creep back. My joy, and I started to push more. I just started to say, I had enough of this. And then obviously I had great help for the people around me that I kept pushing, but also God led me to resources such as the anxiety guy. And then, that helped me just really all his teachings, everything just really helped me more and more to educate myself. Started giving me more confidence to push out more. And then, like I said, it led till summer 2021, where I kind of just had enough because I hit a rock bottom. That really took major steps forward to help myself. And it's been great since. I'm still growing, but like I said, I'm still growing through my own life as well. And so, I'm doing a lot of things that are new to me. Being more vulnerable in a lot of ways for the good, but when you become more vulnerable, you're gonna feel a little, a little uneasy because it's new to you. And I'm doing a lot of that right now, just in a lot of ways. And so, and there's a lot of things in my life I still want. There's relationships I would like. There's, goals I'd like to achieve, growth in terms of, a career and things. But this podcast, for instance, but just staying patient in the midst of the trial, but also focusing on God's developing, how God is developing me through the trial. And how do I perceive the trial? How do I perceive, because you do have good days and you have bad days. And some days, let's be honest, it sucks. Some days can suck. I've had a lot of those recently, where some days just kind of suck. It just feels like they're just never ending. Like and you're just kind of constantly in prayer. And I do it a lot where I'm constantly praying to God. And I'm like, God, when is this going to change? Or when is this going to happen in my life? When am I going to get an answer? Or when am I going to know more about certain things? And, it's testing. It's very testing, but that's what it is. And that's what, Charles said the sermon. He says purpose, I got the notes right here, purpose for trials in our life. number one, the proof of our faith. So again, it's testing your faith, testing our devotion, testing of our devotion, excuse me. But it's also, and I love what he said here, to show himself strong in our life, provide Christ-like character in our life, and to equip us to help others through the same difficulty. But the last one he said, well, he said in the middle, but I saved it for last, was the purifying of our life. And he talks about how pain purifies us. And I heard that and I was like, man, that is so good, because I've experienced it firsthand. And so what he's really saying is, people, and I posted this on my social media yesterday. I did a post on this. I'm going to show it in a minute. It's just how pain purifies us, and how when God puts you in a trial, if we, accept and we are convinced why that God has put us in this trial for our own benefit, for our own growth, to help us in the future, for where he's taking us, that, we have to go through this to get where we want to go, for the, inheritance, for the blessings we want in our life, and just to be delivered from what we're going through. If we perceive it in that kind of way, we understand more how these trials and how the pain we may feel during the trial, how it actually is purifying us. It's actually making us more like Christ-like character. And so, again, I love what he said there, and I posted yesterday on my Instagram and social media, and it says, pain purifies you, right? And so, and I added some other ones with that. And just like I just said, so now here's a good thing to keep an eye on, or remember as you're going through a trial. Define yourself by the inner work you are currently involved with, not your past difficulties. So again, it's very easy when we're in a trial to constantly look in the rearview mirror, constantly. It's like an addiction to suffering, in a way. And I got a video coming up here in a little bit. I'm gonna play from the Anxiety Guide. It's a quick 6-minute video that's gonna explain that more. So remember that. But it's very easy to stay focused on the past, because the past, a lot of times, like for instance with health anxiety, you want to revert away from your old anxiety habits, how you perceive things, how you perceive the symptoms you're feeling, for instance, right? How you perceive everything you're going through, the pain, the trial you're in. You feel uneasy. It's very easy to revert back to what we've always done is safe. But a lot of times what we've done is safe has just kept us in that cycle. It's habits that keep us in the state of worry. It's just almost like it's constant coping methods, and coping's good for, it's good to have tools when you're in the moment. Sometimes you could be out and panic attacks come out of nowhere, right? And I've talked about that many times in the show. I've experienced that firsthand. You need to get through, but there's always cookie crumbs that lead up to those things. Even if we're not aware of it, there's always cookie crumbs that lead up to these things. So we have to be very conscious of, how we're perceiving things, and what habits are we engaging in. So like it says here on the screen, that's why I put it up there. Define the work you're doing right now. If you're doing a lot of new change work in your life and a lot of new habits, you're replacing good habits with old bad ones. Define yourself by that. Define yourself by where you're heading. Define yourself by, remember, just keep that in mind, how the pain you're feeling is actually purifying you. It's preparing you for where you want to go. It's like I think it's an old quote from Winston Churchill, and it says, when in hell, keep going. And so sometimes you feel like you're in hell, but when you're in hell, keep going. Don't look back to your past. Don't keep reverting back to those same old, could be people, could be habits, like I said earlier. It could be anything that makes you feel really comfortable and really, like in a bad way, like safety. What makes your anxiety symptoms feel comfortable? That's what we don't want. Because if you stay in your comfort zone, you're never going to grow. You're never going to push forward. You're just going to keep staying in the past, living in the past, and you're never going to fully get what you want. And you're never going to fully allow God to, you're never really going to allow God to work through you fully, really. How can he, God has a perfect will and a plan for everybody, but how can he execute that plan through you if you're not willing to, let him do it? Basically, that's what it is. That's why it says earlier, the testing of our faith. It's to prove how strong our faith is. That's what these trials and pain is for. And so, but also, I think these trials are critical because it can help other people. And that's something I can relate to firsthand with this show and just kind of my own life. And this verse right here is a verse that I live by. It's a verse that helps me in those days. Guys, I have a lot of days recently where like I said, I have good days, I have some bad days, but I try to stay neutral. And I try to stay focused on the main thing and understanding that, this is just part of the journey. Setbacks are okay. It's all about wins and lessons. But this verse is like a juice for me. It keeps me going because it helps me with this podcast, but also, I've been very grateful and very honored to have a lot of people reach out to me, people I don't even really know, and tell me how the show has helped them, or just if I talk to them in private, how, what I've been through, what I've been able to share with them, how it's helped them. And so it's very honoring. It's very flat, and it keeps me going. So I kind of understand now more of, what God's plan is for me. I think, why he took me through that trial he took me through for, the last 7-8 years. It's to prepare myself for now and what I've been doing and what I'm continuing to grow and do better in, which is sharing my message with you guys and sharing a message with all kinds of people, helping people with anxiety and panic and just kind of just a lot of struggles in general. Because, if you really think about anxiety, whether you have anxiety or panic or any type of life trial in general, they're all connected in a way. It's something everybody goes through. And so I feel like kind of all the things I've been through in my life, especially the last, like I said, 7-8 years, has prepared me for, it still is preparing me for giving back. And this verse right here, 2 Corinthians 1:3-4. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and God of all comfort, who comforts us in all tribulation. Now right here, that we may be able to comfort those who are in any trouble with the comfort in which we ourselves are comforted by God. And so that verse says to me, what you're going through right now, how God showed you the way. Like this is me speaking for myself, what I've gone through. I'm sure people have to relate. I understand how that all the times God has pushed me through and brought me through, it showed me that God has shown me so many instances, especially during my panic attacks, where I thought I was, sometimes when you have a panic attack, you feel like you're going to lose control, and you really question, like, am I going to make it? Like, am I going to make it home? Am I going to get through this? Especially if I'm by myself. When is this going to end? And a trial, if you're going through a hard time, But God always continues to show us in those trials. And if you're not a Christian, if you're not a believer, I would say ask yourself: has there been? Because there has to be moments, at least something. Has there been a moment or something that has stuck out to you during your trial, your hard times, that made you think differently? That made you? Has there been a moment where you felt like you were going to lose it all? Maybe something stopped it, or something there was a glimpse of hope in your mind. Just think of that. Because to me, that's God. That's God speaking to you, right? That's him telling you, God doesn't always pull us, he doesn't just pull us out of the trials. But what he does is he lets us know that he's with us during the trial, and that he's guiding us through the trial, and he's holding our hand through it. And, God is in control. That's what he's telling us. And I'm going to get you through this. I'm going to let you go through the trial. But why does he let us go through the trial? Well, one of the, like I said earlier, so it can purify us, to develop us in all aspects of our life, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, to develop us and be more Christ-like. But also, this is why people have testimonies and share their testimonies. That's why somebody like Dennis Simsek, the anxiety guy, shared his testimony, because who didn't, if I can catch my words, I'm talking a lot here, guys. I'm getting a little cotton mouth. But again, so the anxiety guy, for instance, shared his story. And who did that affect? Who did that inspire? Inspired somebody like me. And so, now I plan on doing the same thing for other people. And there's been many other people who have done the same thing that have inspired me. But again, it's like this verse says, and look at it like that. You're going through a trial right now to one day, and look at it as when I get through this trial and I get to the other side, one day I'm going to share my story, give the same lessons and knowledge back to somebody else who was just where I was, or where I used to be, and that's where they are right now. And I've done that in my own life. And so, even for instance, like, I have a 14-year-old sister who's getting ready to go into high school next year. And so I've been through that process. And I know how I felt, back then when I was going through the process. I was going through a lot. I was going through a lot of health anxiety. I just had a lot going on. But it's a lot different for her this time, and it's easier for my parents as well because I was the first child. So, there's a lot more growth this time around. There's a lot more, we know how to really approach this now because, it's a decision that a lot of people, it's a big decision. You want to go to the right high school. You want to choose the right place where you fit best. Now it is, it's 4 years and they go by quick like that, but it's a 4-year investment. You want to prepare yourself for the next step. And so, and also you want to enjoy it and also have fun. Your high school years should be fun. You should enjoy them. You should, especially, like the normal. I didn't get to go through that, which I'm not complaining. God had a different plan for me, and I fully embraced that and love where He's taken me. But for most people, high school is, those are fun years that you remember. And so, but I'm able to help her now, not just with that, with anything. I'm her older brother, so she can come to me for anything. We could talk about all kinds of things, if whatever she's trying to work through with relationships and, school and all that kind of stuff, and especially at that age. And so, and I do the same with people much older than me. I feel like that's something people my age don't do enough. We don't, number one, we're afraid to talk to people in general. And we're afraid to communicate because all we know is how to talk through this. But, I also think that, we don't do a good enough job of listening to people above us because people above us, especially respectable people and, people I admire. I've had a lot of great mentors older than me that have become good friends of mine. They've given great wisdom to me, great knowledge, and they've helped me a ton. And so, there's people much older than me, in their 40s and 50s, people I consider actually really good friends of mine, just because they really helped me grow. But they're just people with a lot of wisdom and experience and knowledge, and I've been fortunate to have good role models, like people actually in my life that I know. And so it's been pretty cool. I've been pretty blessed by God and God's gifted me with a lot of knowledge that I've learned from people around me. And just also, I've always liked, listening to people and observing people's perspective on things. Because I feel like you can take something away from everybody. There's always something you can get. And I've learned that the hard way a bunch of times too. Like there's a lot of times in the past where I've put things off, or maybe I wouldn't listen to somebody as much. And then later on down the road, I would finally talk to that person or listen to that person, and they would say something that would really stick out to me, that really helped me. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. But again, you have to be willing. It's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to, be an open mind, be a sponge. That's really what I'm saying there. And I'm kind of off track a little bit, but be a sponge, and so and absorb the wisdom and information that people much older than us have. And I'm talking people my age group. I think not everybody, some of them, but again, I'm kind of rambling here again, guys. But to people my age group, I'm going to say this again one more time. We need to get back to being more open with each other. Put the phones down, or if you are on the phone, communicate in a proper way, a way that will help you, in a way that will benefit you. And so, I know I'm getting off track. I'm just forgetting about that. I think I made my point pretty clear. But back to the topic, how to perceive trials and pain. And so, like I said, I think I kind of explained how to view it from God's standpoint, right? And so, like I said there in that verse, 2 Corinthians 1:3-4, God's preparing you what you're going through now, because one day you're going to take what you went through and give it back to somebody else. And so that's very empowering to think about, because if you think about it, you're kind of like, man, That means one day I can look back on all this and feel like, not only feel like I overcome, but that's pretty cool to think that you could do that to somebody. That your story, your trial, your uh, all the wisdom you learned, everything can benefit somebody else down the road. You can inspire somebody one day, and who knows what that person will do. That person will go on to be the next, I don't know, anxiety guy. I don't know. Maybe that's why the anxiety guy inspired me. Maybe I'm going to continue on this channel to do what he does one day. I don't know, but he inspired me, and so uh, I hope you guys this helps you guys today. I got a video, like I said, coming up real quick. It's a 6-minute video. I'm gonna close it out, but I love this message I heard from Charles Stanley. I love how he explained that about. Let me turn this off. I love how he explained that, how to perceive your trials, but also just I love the part the most, how pain purifies us. And if we perceive it in the way like I explained and showed with the Bible verse in Second Corinthians, how we can help people, but also what we're going through is preparing us for something greater. It's like lifting weights. You start off at 10 pounds and you move up, or I don't know, whatever you. Some people start off at 10 pounds and you go up to 20, then you go up to 30, then you go up to 50, and you keep increasing your weight and your reps. Right? Same thing. And so it makes you stronger. And that's what these trials and these pains you're feeling are. But again, we have to stay focused on that, because if you start focusing on the other way and you start looking back in the past, you're never going to grow, and your patience will run out, and it's not going to work for you. You're just gonna be like a hamster on a wheel. You're not going to go anywhere. You're constantly just being in stress and just discomfort and anxiousness, and uh, you may get out of the trial temporarily with a lot of times bad coping methods and bad habits that temporarily help you. You think, but they really don't. They just make you, and over time, the more you do, you really just crash down more and more and more deeper into a hole. And so, and the more you do that, and I've been there, the more you do that, uh, the worse it gets for you, because the deeper you get in the hole, the harder it becomes to get out. And not only that, it's you become further away from God's will. You a lot of times, especially spiritually speaking, you know, the wages of sin is death. A lot of times when you start getting those bad habits, you can start funneling some things you probably shouldn't be doing, right? We've all been there. And a lot of times, you know, it doesn't mean, the wages of sin is death. And it says, like it says in the Bible, it doesn't mean you actually die, but death means separation from God. And so the more you separate yourself from God and the more you ignore God and the more you keep putting it off, you know, two things that happen. Number one, like I said, you're separated from God, but also your conscience can start to become hardened in a way too as the older you get. And when that starts to happen, that's a scary place to be, because you know it's almost like the Holy Spirit's not able to tap into you anymore. It can a little. I'm not saying it can. Everybody has a chance in their life. That you always have that choice. But the more you deny God, the more you deny, uh, you run away from the temporary pain, because that's what it is. It's only temporary pain. It's a temporary trial. But the more you put things off and the more you revert back to those old habits, you're never going to fully blossom into who you want to become, number one, but also who God wants you, who needs you to be. How where He needs you, and so, and sometimes too, God may just you keep putting them off. He'll shake you up, and He'll push you to where He needs you. And I've experienced that firsthand. You know, like I said many times, how I did my first podcast. That whole week leading up to that Saturday when I recorded it probably one of the hardest weeks of my life. Um, he really shook me up that week, and made me very uncomfortable at times. But he pushed me and led me all the way to this mic. And I remember I looked back and I said, I see what he did there, because I was putting it off for a while. I was making excuses, and like I said, many people would ask me, "Hey, when's that podcast coming?" I'd be like, "Oh, 2 weeks, 2 months." Yeah, I wasn't planning anything. I wasn't no damn 2 months. There wasn't no 2 weeks. I had an idea. It's something I wanted to do. I had thought about it, but I never really fully embraced it, because I kind of thought too much about it at first, and I was like, the day it happened, I remember my dad was like, just go up there and just hit the record button and just say what you need to say. That's it. Who cares? And that's all it was. Sometimes it's not as hard as we make it out to be in our heads. I think that's a lot of it too. Why what holds us back? We overthink things. But again, if we stay focused on what's true, it's more simple. It's simplified for us, and focus on why God allows these things. It's a breath of fresh air, and we're convinced that God has us in this for a reason. That you're convinced, that it makes it so much easier. You can rejoice in the trial, and you start to benefit from it. And so, and that's kind of what I posted too. In my post, I posted those three photos: Second Corinthians, the one, and then the two saying pain purifies you. Then the other one where it talks about not looking in the past. That's basically what I wrote underneath. And so, uh, I know I said a mouthful here. I need a drink of water because, man, woo, I get tired of talking about it for a long time, guys. It that's something I had to adjust to doing this, because I try to say a whole lot and I look at all my notes. You just start running out of air. And so, uh, anywho, appreciate you guys for having patience with me though, and I hope a lot of what I'm saying today, guys, is relates to this message. And because, like I said, that's why I wanted to come out and share this today. I wasn't planning on really doing one today, but when I saw this Sunday, and it made me want to post that yesterday, I said, let me come on here and really indulge deeper into this, because I think it's a very important message that a lot of people like myself, and because I've been there, and especially with anxiety and panic and just trial, and I've been there, and I know what it's like, and it's very hard to stay focused on truth. It's very easy to look at all the negative and down ourselves, and also just have, it's like something inside you that holds you back. It's like a stagnancy, to where you're kind of like, I'm comfortable where I am right now, because where I am right now, I feel a little safer. I'm comfortable. My symptoms are a little. I'm able to manage my symptoms. Let's say with anxiety, and but again, that's why I'm like this, because it just keeps you hunkered down like this. If you're just managing, trying to get by, you know, that's where you're gonna be. And a lot of times, what you're actually doing is you're slowly. It seems like you're going forward, but you're actually slowly just reverting back to where you wanted to get away from. And that's why a lot of times people will subconsciously recreate what it is they despise, what it is they had connected pain to. They recreate it in their life because they never fully let go of it. They never fully um, made peace with the past. Like, and for instance, when I say make peace with the past, is like no more. You understand why it happened. You understand what happened in your past or experience, whatever it is, but you no longer dwell on it, and you no longer. And a lot of that's not just experience. It's, like I said, it's healing is like a. If I say this more broad way, uh, when you start to heal and you start to get away from the past, healing is basically like a recreation of yourself. That doesn't mean you abandon everything in your life. Like, I've been a Christian since I was a kid. That's never going to change, obviously. But you take the good with you and what you want to keep. But a lot of what you do, and kind of this, like health anxiety is like an act. It's like a persona. That's what it is. And that's what I did for a long time. It's like I'm acting out each day in this, out of fear. I'm allowing my thoughts and my fear and these perceptions, these illusions, to control everything I do every day, right? And it puts limitations on me. But when you start to recreate yourself, you start to replace those habits with healthier ones. What you're replacing it with truth, and you're recreating yourself into who you want to become. Excuse me. And when realign yourself with God, which I had to do, because I wasn't spending as much time with God last 20 in the summer 21 lead up to that. I was focusing on a lot of things that weren't really beneficial to me. I wasn't focused. I wasn't really trying to uh, really dive in deep into God's word and really start to apply it. It's easy. We can learn things, but it's better to learn and apply. It's like the new book I'm reading from the anxiety guy, the Essential Guide to Health Anxiety. It says in the book, take your time reading the book, and I know he says that for a reason. I understand why. A lot of people just take the book and just read right through it. Okay, yeah, you learned a lot, but each chapter is designed for you to apply something, and it's the same thing with the holy, obviously with the Bible. There's different part, and how you study, how you pray, how you meditate on God's word, how your habits, your how you put it into action. Everything aligns with you know growing and learn, not just learning but applying. And when you apply those things continuously, then you start to become the person you want to become, and you're allowing God to mold you into that Christ likeness and send and shift you towards His will for you, where He needs you to be, what He has planned for you. And God knows what our wants and needs and our desires, and He's willing to give it to us if we allow Him. It may not happen when we want it, and I've had to learn that recently. Um, you know, I've had to learn that recently, but it's also taught me, especially in the last couple of months. I've gone through something that it's taught me how to really let go, like really let go, and just trust and believe and have faith that what God allows things in our life, and God may show us a glimpse of something of what we want and desire, but a lot of times He'll may show you a glimpse, to let you know, hey, I know what you want, I know what you desire. I open some doors for you. It doesn't mean I'll give it all to you right now. And sometimes God doesn't give it all to us when we want it. Not all of it. He'll show us glimpses, but again, and that's something. I had to learn this in the last couple of months. Um, but again, through that though, that's again, it's like a trial. It's a development trial. That's what I've been going through. But it's a testing of our faith. But he's been molding me. In the last 3 months, 2 to 3 months, I've had a lot of incredible growth in my life, just personally, just spiritually, really everywhere, and so all facets of my life. And so, uh, but again, like I said, that's something I'm going through now. That's why I'm sharing it. But He'll show us glimpses. He'll show us bits and pieces of it. Doesn't mean He'll give it all to us right now. But if we stay focused on Him and stay focused on what He's doing, this is where act of faith comes in. This is ultimate faith. And I heard this from another Charles Stanley clip, and I'll link that below too. This other video, you guys got to hear this. But I would play it on here, but I don't think I can because of copyright reasons. But anywho, he did a video talking about faith. It's like a 4-minute video, and like I said, I'll link it below. Charles Stanley. And basically, what Charles Stanley says is you have to, and he talks about patience in this video as well during the trial, but also with faith. And he says, if you feel like God has put something on your heart that maybe nobody else understands it, but you're convinced God has shown you something, maybe, or has allowed something in your life, and you're convinced that, or maybe you're waiting on something still, but you're convinced it's going to happen. And it's a weird thing. I've had this happen to me recently, where you feel like the Spirit has told you, the Holy Spirit is basically, God's telling you, like, it's coming. Like this is it. Like it's coming. Get prepared for it. Expect it. And that's very hard to do. And that is ultimate faith. That is supreme faith. And I know some people in my life, some of the spiritual people I know, that's how they live. And I remember, like some of the most, like I said, the most spiritual people, most ingrained Christians I know, people really deep in spirit with God, like they're just, I mean, people I look up to and I ask for prayer and stuff. These people, I've seen them happen to them, and it's taken me as I gotten older. I'm only 23, so it's taken me as I've gotten older, but really recently to really see that in my own life. That's ultimate faith. But that kind of faith, and I've seen those people uh, have that kind of faith that God's going to provide. God's going to provide. He's going to take care of me. He's going to deliver me. And it may take a year. It may take 6 months. I've seen people take 2 years or a long. I've seen people go through a trial, like a good time, but they kept that attitude. And guess what? I've seen people get delivered. I've seen people get blessed tremendously, even more than myself, and they even thought they would. Like it happened at the right time, and I've experienced that too, where things have happened at the right time, Uh, I mean, it's like the video I did a couple. I don't know when it was. When I did it 1 year later, I think it was back in the early 40s or 30s episodes, episode 30s or 40s, somewhere. I don't know. Go back and look at it. But it talks about the title of it is 1 year later. I talked about a night in August where I had a bad panic attack the year before, and then fast forward a year later to where I am now. And so it's the same thing. Things can change just like that. But again, this kind of goes with the broader message of today is staying focused on, you know, truth and understanding how do I perceive what I'm going through. And like I said, the trial what I've been going through recently, my own growth still, that's something I've had to learn more and more. And when I heard this sermon on Sunday, it just really clarified a lot more things for me. And then the other video as well, which I'm going to link below about faith, but they really go hand in hand, both from Charles Stanley. But again, it's how you know we interpret it. God intends for us to profit from our trials. And it's like it says here. And I wrote down some more notes real quick before I get to the video. Uh, you know, I wrote this in my post. God guards every aspect of our life, and He knows exactly when you can handle what He's going to put on you. So God guards every aspect of our life, but He also, when He places something in our life, He knows we can handle it that time. We may not understand it at first, and I've been there many times, even recently. I'm kind of like, okay, why did this happen like that? But God allowed it for a reason. And as time has gone by, I'm starting to see more and more. Well, okay, I understand what He's doing now. But He's growing me as well. And so, and lastly, my last note here, if I play the video, I've been trying to get to. I keep putting it on because I ramble, but it's okay. Uh, God's goal is never to defeat you, but to develop you in Christ's likeness. So if we remember that's really the most important thing, really, because if His goal is never to defeat us, God's not trying to harm us. He's not trying to, lessen us. He's not trying to defeat us more than we feel maybe going into a trial before where we were in our life. His goal is to grow us. His goal is to push us forward. We may not understand why certain things happen. We may not like certain things that have happened. Uh, you know, Things may not have gone as planned as we thought they would go, or things changed. And so I've experienced that firsthand. Like I said many times, I had a plan when I was in ninth grade. I had a plan. I was going to go to high school. I was going to date a girl. Try to get, when I was looking for a relationship. I was going to play basketball, football. I was going to do all this stuff, and I had a plan. I had a great plan going in. I was going to do all these great things and have all this fun and blase and all that stuff. But God said otherwise, and He stopped it. There was a plan. God said, "No, I have a plan. And this is actually the plan, and this is where you're going to go." Didn't understand it at first. Took me a long time to understand it, and to really just settle down a little bit. But once I got refocused, and once I started to slowly, you know, understand more and more what I was going through, even though I was still going through it, and then I got to the point where I crashed, where I had enough. But there was at that point though where God really took me to the next step. And I now and what I mean, like last summer, God, He let me go through a dark period, a really dark period, and then He showed me again how He was able to deliver me. It felt uncomfortable at times, but He was with me through it. And He's always brought in the resources I've needed when I needed them, either people or whatever. And most probably, He's always blessed me with His peace and presence many times. There's certain times, guys, I've gone through. I look back at certain things I've gone through, certain like incidents I've been in, and we can all relate to this. But also just times in my life, I just look back at my life, just a lot of things have happened. A lot of loss. I've had a lot of loss in my life with people. Either people have moved away for better reasons, or death. And just a lot of things I went through as a kid. You know, now I had a good childhood. I'm not saying I was, had a rough childhood, right? But I had two amazing parents that provided for me and worked hard and gave me all the love and support the best they knew how. And so, uh, and then my parents were very young when they had me; they were in their early 20s, and so, you know, and my dad had a lot of stress on him at an early age, and my mom, same thing. Both of them growing up, and so. But through all that, though, but I also had my, growing up, I went through my ups and downs. But I also, you know, look back at a lot of things now in my life and just how God has put me through certain things to develop me all the way up to where I am today. And so, and I sometimes there's things I don't understand still. Like people will tell me, like, man, you got a lot of wisdom and a lot of certain things about your age, and I don't pay attention. I don't toot my own horn. But the only thing I could say is, I think maybe that's part of just God has a unique plan for all of us. Sometimes we're just not aware of the uniqueness of it. We're not aware of the gifts we have because we're not really trying to, you know, go. And I'm not saying, and guys, I know, especially people my age, like, or any, I mean, here we all want to go out and have fun, have a good time. A lot of times we're not focusing on a lot of things. We're just focusing on, you know, with the game or where we going out tonight or this chick here and all let's be we know what guys are focusing on, especially guys, but all of us, I mean, we're boys, focus on dating, all that kind of stuff. Everybody wants to go out and have fun, or people are working really hard, and by the time they get off work, they just want to go home and do nothing. They just want to, their mind's so fried, they just want to sit down and all that stuff and just do nothing and rest. But again, we have to make time. You have to make sure you're at least getting you're tapping into that. Start tapping into it. Start slowly tapping into these things and then praying more and trying to read more and understand things more and really just look. Okay, what are some habits I put a lot? Am I spending so much time scrolling on social media, waiting for something or looking at the same stuff? Maybe I could do less of that and let's do more of this. Let's do more things that are going to help benefit me. Because the more you actually do that, because a lot of times the things we do that really aren't healthy for or don't really benefit us, we think those things are gonna get us closer to where we want to go. But a lot of times it's the other way around. It's focusing on truth, and truth is God is truth. So spending more time with God, but also just focusing on you more. Start focusing on your growth, preparing yourself, especially if you're like, for instance, if you're single. I'm single. I've been preparing myself to be, not the perfect person. Nobody's perfect, but to be right and accept me for who I am because God accepts me for who I am, and I trust God will whoever He brings in my life, He's already aligning it right now before it happens. And so, but again, focusing on those things and aligning yourself in that thinking. I wasn't thinking like that a year and a half, 2 years ago, you know, but God had to shake me up a little bit, and He let me go through a trial, and He let me get, I got down in some dark days and dark times, but if I didn't go through that, He wouldn't be able to, He wouldn't be able to help me grow. He wouldn't be able to speak to me because I wasn't paying attention to Him. I wasn't giving Him the time like I should have, and that's really what I'm trying to say here is make time for Him. Like I don't, again, there's a lot of distractions out there. We need to be really conscious. Let's be honest. A lot of these distractions out there, they're distractions for a reason, and they're not from God. A lot of them are from the enemy. That's his way of keeping you right in that bubble. Time to get out of the bubble, right? So, uh, I'm gonna play this video. I've been trying to play. I rambled on a lot today. That's okay, because again, it's a very powerful topic, and I hope something I said today. I hope if there's something I've said already, leave it in a comment below. Just leave a comment below and just put something how you can relate to something or share this video with somebody. I'd love to hear you guys' feedback. So, but anywho, I'm gonna get to this video from my man, the anxiety guy, and we'll all close out with this. It's a 6-minute video, so stay tuned. It's an incredible video. Remember what I said earlier about the addiction to suffering, and I've kind of actually broadened a lot about that today. About reverting back to old habits and going out of our comfort zone and making time for things and what we're really focused on. And I've kind of said that a lot today and really in a lot of previous episodes. But this video here, Dennis really breaks it down in an incredible level. I've showed this to a couple people recently around me, and just this video alone, guys, has already it's made them think differently about things in their own life. And so this 6 minutes here, really pay attention because I'm telling you, you're going to gain a lot of clarity from this. You're going to take something away from this video. And I want you to comment that below too. And by the way, go subscribe to the Man, the Anxiety Guy. Awesome guy. Check him out. You need a program, books, incredible resources, everything. Go check out his channel. Go to his website as well, theanxietyguy.com. But this video right here, I want you to really pay attention to this video because this video, like I said, you're going to take something away from this video. So I'm going to stop talking and let's get to it.
Warrior, welcome to episode number 3 of the Health Anxiety Podcast Show. I'm your host, Dennis Simsek, and together we are moving on the right path towards health anxiety healing. Today is all about the addiction to suffering and health anxiety. Dennis, what do you mean by the addiction to suffering? Well, let me explain it through my own personal experience. I believed, based around my upbringing and emotionally traumatic events that happened in my life, that I somehow, some way, didn't deserve to live through the flow and natural beauty of life. Life needed to be a struggle. So my system was constantly looking at the difficulties in everything so that I could achieve this addiction to suffering. I suffered through my thinking. I suffered through my emotions. I suffered through my verbal language. I suffered through my actions. I was always suffering to the point where it led to health anxiety, because health anxiety to me is the greatest point of suffering. Health anxiety is a fear of leaving this world too early. It's a fear of what the symptoms that you're experiencing mean, another way to suffer. So in essence, the truth of the matter is that you are fulfilling the calling of your suffering. To fear and suffer is to be who you believe you are, not who you truly are. Not who you truly are. Who you truly are is someone who hasn't really tapped into the flow of life yet, who hasn't tapped into the fact that illness, disease, these things don't exist in a mind that is pure, in the mind that is loving. I, in my heart, believe that so much of the physical symptoms that one experiences is due to a lack of love. And when I'm talking about a lack of love, I'm talking about getting to the root of it all. True peace over struggle has never been achieved, never been understood. What we believe is that self-punishment is a way of life. So we seek it unconsciously through health anxiety. I promise you one thing. You know how you're saying that when this health anxiety journey goes away, you're going to begin living your life fully? I promise you that if you don't change your core beliefs, your identity, and create a purpose or mission for your life, you're going to find another way to suffer. And that's not fair to your true self. That's not who you are. Health anxiety has manifested in your life as just another way to fulfill the inner subconscious programs around self-punishment. Does this sound like you? I mean, too many people out today are in denial of these things that have happened to them. You say, my childhood was pretty good. No, it wasn't. It wasn't pretty good. In fact, There were many, many needs as a child that were not met. And all those things that happened to you along the way, the things that we call accidents, weren't accidents. Your programming, your vibration, and your frequency that you're putting out in the world is giving you the very thing that you're holding in your subconscious mind. Now understand this. To shift these programs at a deep enough level, we must begin to interpret the symptoms differently, providing ourselves facts when they show up and not assumptions, as well as move towards a new identity for ourselves, not move away from anxiety. Here's what I want you to do starting today. Everything that you do for yourself and for the release and healing of health anxiety is so that you can become someone new, not move away from anxiety. Too many people are trying to push anxiety away, get rid of it, meditate to overcome anxiety, breathing patterns to overcome anxiety, doing the CBT, NLP methods to overcome anxiety. No. Your job is to understand that everything that you do for yourself starting today is for the manifestation and molding of the new person that you're becoming, not trying to get away from anxiety. Warrior, this mindset is crucial towards your healing. Health Anxiety podcast show quote of the day. Worry gives you a sense of certainty and safety, but it comes at a cost. And that cost is your spiritual and physical health. I love you so very much, warrior. Remember, you are more than anxiety. Enjoy this day because you deserve it.
And yeah, that was a very powerful 6-minute message there. I'm sure you guys took something away from that. And the two biggest things I love about that video, this is what I'll close with, guys, before I get out of here, is what he said about your mindset. You know, if your mindset is, uh, focusing on trying to manage, like you said, and trying to address the anxiety symptoms and using all these techniques and things and all that stuff, no, that stuff's great too. And he wouldn't doubt. But if your mindset's just focused on trying to get comfortable where you are, then you're just going to stay where you are. But really, all you're doing is you're just setting yourself up to fall back again, because you're going to revert back to the what your subconscious mind views as safety. The same comfort zones, what's always felt comfortable and has helped. But like you said, a lot of times the things we've done really aren't. They're not helping us. That's why we're stuck. We feel stuck. We feel like we're in the same cycle over and over again. And so, again, and here's the last thing I'll say. And I said this in my post yesterday, and it's probably the biggest thing I could say, is what I just said there. And think about where you were in your life, staying in that cycle, staying stuck. Yeah, you do better. You're doing a lot of good things. You've done a lot of good changes, but you don't feel like you fully. There's just something missing on the inside. You just feel like there's something you're not able to fully get over the hump. You're not feel. You don't think you're really heading towards what you ultimately want, your real dreams, your real goals, what you really desire, right? And you could really see God pushing you, and just, and you could see His will unraveling before you could, and you just, like I said, you feel like you're really heading towards all the things you truly want. Because there's things we want, but there's things we all have things deep down inside that we truly want. I have them, and for a while I was kind of like, yeah, it'd be nice one day, but now I'm at a point in my life where I feel like they're very obtainable. And again, I had to get out of that old mindset. But what made me do that? And this is my last point. Think about that life. Think about, and like you said there, the biggest thing, a lot of people with anxiety in general, what's missing? The lack of love. And I wrote this yesterday in my post, like I was saying. Connect pain to this. Connect pain to that old persona and that old lifestyle. That's an artificial version of you. That's not the real you. Because the real you wants, you're not. how do I want to say this? Like I said, if you're not heading towards what you truly desire, you're not doing what you truly want to do, and you don't feel like God, maybe you don't feel the presence of God as much, or um, maybe you don't feel like you're heading where God wants you to go. You just feel like something's off. You know, that's a fabricated version of you. You're just kind of staying stuck in fear, where you're afraid to move forward, or you don't know where to go. I would say connect pain to that, and I hope that makes sense. Take your pain and connect it to that, because what I mean by that is, yeah, I might be going through this trial right now, and I might be feeling uncomfortable. I'm doing a lot of new things, and I feel very vulnerable, a lot of uncertainty, and I don't know what to expect. I feel very uncomfortable. I feel kind of anxious at times. There's a difference between anxiousness and anxiety, but we can allow it to be anxiety if we revert back to safety in our comfort zones. But if we connect pain to that old persona, like for instance, for me, I'll give an so this helps. Maybe this makes more sense for you guys. What I'm trying to say here in this last point, you know, I could have stayed in my own little bubble I was in, suppressing things. Like I said, those true dreams and goals I had, telling myself, yeah, it'd be nice maybe one day, just kind of wishing and hoping, just kind of staying stuck and just, I had a lot of knowledge, but I wasn't applying things. I was trying to do a lot of techniques and methods, just trying to get by. But just trying to get by led me to more pain. And that pain was a sharp pain because I felt stuck and lost. And I felt like I was doing all these great coping techniques and all these great things to get by. But then once, you know, shit really hit the fan in my life, for better lack of terms, and I started really going through it again, especially that summer of 21, and I hit rock bottom, I felt lost. But there was a lot of pain and a lot of suffering those days. Even back then, I thought I was doing better, but I still wasn't fully filled because I wasn't really truly heading where I wanted to go deep down inside. The wishing and hoping and the kind of just trying to get by wore off. And so I connected pain to that. And so, yeah, this road ahead might seem I might have to go through some things, and I've gone through some things that have been tough. For instance, that week when I led up to my first episode, that was a tough week. And I've gone through my growing pains. But amidst my trial and amidst the pain, those days where I feel the pain, or I feel down, I stay focused on what's true. And what's true is God's right beside me. And what's true is this will end and I will be delivered. And what's true is, you know, the pain is actually purifying me. It's actually cleansing me. The truth is, this is all preparing me for something greater. And as more time has gone on, especially as I started this episode, or not this episode, since I started this podcast, excuse me, I'm starting to see more and more why he allowed a lot of things. And that gives me great clarity. And I can rejoice in that. And I'm just a lot more, I'm becoming more and more comfortable and settled in my life. It's like one of my favorite verses, the verse I live by, 1 Peter 5:10. In that verse, he says, I've played it in last week's episode, the part 2 of that series I did last week. And it says, it's in the thumbnail of that video, after you have suffered for a little while. It's after you've suffered for a little while, the God of all grace, he will perfect you, establish you, strengthen you, and settle you. And I definitely feel like I'm growing at all 4 of those things more and more each day. Doesn't mean I don't have bad days. I do. But I'm staying focused on what's true. And there's too much pain to where I used to be. I'm never going back to that. And I won't go back to that. And God, and because I'm lying, I'm telling God, take me where you want me to go. It's in your hands. It's like my buddy, all the way back in episode 12, when I had my buddy Mike Matthews on. And it's funny to see where Mike is now. Mike's come a long way. And just watch as one of his friends, watching him grow where he is now. But remember what Mike said in that episode? And I love this was back in May. And he said, when I started telling God, I just want your will to be done, and just giving it to him and trusting him, Mike started to have change in his life. I've done the same thing in my life, and there's plenty of other people who have done the same thing. I'm just one of many. Doesn't mean I'm not where I want to be yet. God showed me, remember I said earlier, God showed me glimpses of things. that maybe I don't have fully yet. He showed me glimpses, but I understand though my 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 perception, how I perceive these things, and what I'm going through. I understand what he's doing more and more. And I just and my all this is the last thing I'll say. What helps me is my ultimate hope is in him, and it's like the video I'll link below about faith from Charles Stanley. It'll be the sermon I talked about, but there'll be another one about faith. That's a 4-minute video. Definitely watch that video. It's 4 minutes. You can take 4 minutes out to watch it. What he talks about in there about not just how to have patience in it. This is something I've had to learn with patience during my trial. How to have patience is to expect what you desire and to expect what you've been praying for, and expect what you have faith that you know God's put something on your heart. He's showing you a glimpse of it, but God's going to carry you through, and you expect to be delivered. And that's, like I said earlier, that's ultimate faith. And that's what you put your faith and hope in and trust in. You put your trust in that because that's what's going to carry you through. And you will make it to the other side. Because again, God's goal is never to defeat you, but to develop you in Christ's likeness. And he controls the temperature and the intensity of the trial you're going through. He controls everything. So if something happens to you, don't ask why, why me in a victimhood way. Ask why, God, what are you doing here? And ask him, like, God, what are you doing here? And he'll show you. That's why, and again earlier, that's why you got to be absorbed into the word, and you got to be in deep prayer. Because if you're not, and you got to really just, really give yourself to God more. Spend less time scrolling on social media and all that stuff. I know, and all the other things that going out, and that stuff's great. But you got to keep what's most important. Because if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to understand what's going on with you. And so, and not only that, you want to get where you want to go to, and he'll show you the way. But if you're not absorbed with those things, he can't show you. You have to be absorbed with God for him to show you. That's something I've had to learn. And so, but again, that's like I said, it's where you find your patience and your trust, and that's where you put it all in. That's growing your faith more and more. And yeah, I'm excited for you guys. Hope this message helped today. It was good for me as well. Good reminder for myself. Like I say always, this a lot of what I'm talking about. That all my conversations, the topics I explained in the show, the guests I've had on, it applies to myself and them, and it's something we're all going through as well. So we can all go through this together. And I'd love to hear maybe you guys share your story as well. Like I say it all the time, because seriously, like I'm not saying you have to come out and do what I did and make a podcast. And guys, it took me time to get to this, right? I used to just, I remember like 2 years before I started this podcast, I went on my Instagram one time, just kind of, that was the first time I really share what I was going through. And I just wrote it. I wasn't comfortable enough, doing this. But I'm not saying you have to do this, but forget even making it public. Just tell someone in private, whatever you're going through, just express. And like he said there in the video, less expression, more expression. Like we're suppressing too much nowadays. And we're just constantly taught in our society to suppress, bottle up, and keep it moving forward and just deal with it. But it's like I said earlier, if you just keep that attitude, just managing, just dealing with it, you're never going to get anywhere. And so choice is yours. It's on you. It's on all of us. We got to make a choice for ourselves. And a lot of times God's just waiting for us. He's going to just give it to him, and he's got you. And so God is good. So I know I said a lot today. Hope this helped you guys. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Share this message with somebody that you think needs it. Please share this. And please leave a comment below, too. I want to hear what you guys think. And so, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out of here. Gone.